They told her motherhood was only real if her body carried the child. But no one asked what it felt like to have a body that couldn't. You're here because somewhere inside you, you've seen how people judge what they don't understand, how society praises sacrifice, then punishes the woman who chooses a different path. Listen closely, because this story isn't just about her. It's about every person who dared to love in a world that demanded they suffer for it. She was a woman with a gentle voice and a quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. She and her husband dreamed of a family, but after years of trying, doctors told her carrying a child would put her life at risk. Not impossible, but dangerous. A gamble no mother should be forced to take. Her husband held her, whispering, "We'll find another way. I choose you." They decided on surrogacy, a safe, loving path where another woman would help bring life into the world, a shared miracle, a chance at family without loss. But the world can be cruel to the woman who doesn't suffer the way people think she should. They expected tears, failure, tragedy. And when she bypassed that pain, they took aim at her joy. At first, everyone smiled. Family brought gifts, friends sent congratulations, and strangers admired their happiness. But joy has enemies, not because it's wrong, but because people fear what doesn't match their beliefs. That night, she didn't sleep, not because she was fragile, but because every cruel word echoed louder in the quiet. Her husband lay beside her, breathing calmly, as if nothing happened, as if her dignity hadn't just been shattered in front of the people who claimed to love her. She asked him softly, "Why didn't you say anything?" He sighed, pulling the blanket over his shoulder. "You're overthinking. It was just a joke. Just a joke. That's what people call the words they don't want to take responsibility for. But jokes don't make your heart sink. Jokes don't make your hands shake. Jokes don't steal the joy you spent years fighting for." She felt something break between them. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet fracture in the foundation of trust. Because when the world attacks you, the person beside you should defend you, not dismiss your pain. Days passed, and the whispers continued, comments disguised as curiosity. "So, are you nervous the baby won't feel like yours? You're lucky. You get a child without the work. I could never give birth for someone else. Feels unnatural." Each sentence was a tiny knife dressed in politeness. But here's the truth no one told her. People fear what doesn't match their script. If a woman becomes a mother without enduring pain, exhaustion, and sacrifice, they think she didn't earn it. Isn't that strange? Men become fathers without carrying a child, and no one questions their validity. But a woman, once her body is removed from the process, is treated like her heart doesn't count. One afternoon, she went to a family lunch. She hoped things would calm down. They didn't. A cousin laughed. "Oh, the baby's so cute. Let's just hope he looks like his real mom." The table erupted in awkward laughter. Her husband stared at his plate, choosing silence again. And silence, when repeated, turns from neglect into betrayal. Weeks passed, and the due date drew closer. The surrogate, a kind woman with steady eyes, became like family. They shared quiet conversations, little hopes, gentle laughter. And when she placed the woman's hand on her growing belly, the soon-to-be mother felt something so powerful it silenced every cruel voice inside her. Connection, not biological, but spiritual. The baby would arrive soon, and she promised herself she would be ready, even if the world wasn't. But the world always tests the heart right before it blooms. One afternoon, her mother-in-law came to visit. At first, it felt warm. Tea, conversation, small smiles. Then came the question, spoken with softness, but sharpened underneath. "So, who will be the baby's real mom?" There it was again. The quiet violence, wrapped in concern. The woman didn't raise her voice. She simply said, "I will." But the older woman didn't stop. "You're a good person, but motherhood is sacred. Maybe God didn't want you to carry a child." For a reason, her chest tightened. Not because she believed it, but because someone she trusted believed she was less. And her husband. He changed the subject, laughed it off, as if the wound would disappear if ignored. Later, she asked him, "Do you think I'm less of a mother because I didn't carry the baby?" He hesitated, and hesitation, when you need truth, hurts more than lies. "I don't know," he said quietly. "Maybe people think differently. People. Always people. Never him." She went silent, not because she had no words, but because she realized she was in this story alone. The baby came early, a frantic call, a rush to the hospital, a blur of faces and machines, and finally, a soft cry. They handed her the child, tiny, warm, eyes blinking at a world they were seeing for the first time. And the moment she held them, everything clicked. The days that followed became a test, not of her strength, but of her endurance. She woke every morning with purpose in her chest, yet the world kept trying to shrink her worth. Her husband grew distant, not angry, not cruel, just absent. He spent longer hours at work, longer nights out with friends, leaving her alone with a newborn and 1,000 unspoken fears. One evening, she overheard him on the phone. He spoke in a low voice, thinking she couldn't hear. "Yeah, I mean, she's great with the baby, but it's different, you know. Surrogate stuff. I don't know how to feel about it." Her heart froze, not because he questioned, but because he questioned her identity to someone else before he ever asked her how she felt. He walked in later with that easy smile, expecting everything to be normal. She pretended she hadn't heard a thing. Some pain is too deep for confrontation. Instead, she held her baby close and let silence answer for her. During a family dinner, a week later, everything unraveled. The baby lay sleeping in a small bassinet. People ate, laughed, gossiped. Then someone, half smiling, half mocking, asked her husband, "How does it feel to raise someone else's child?" For a reason. Her chest tightened, not because she believed it, but because someone she trusted believed she was less. And her husband? He changed the subject, laughed it off, as if the wound would disappear if ignored. Later, she asked him, "Do you think I'm less of a mother because I didn't carry the baby?" He hesitated. And hesitation, when you need truth, hurts more than lies. "I don't know," he said quietly. "Maybe people think differently." She didn't leave with certainty. She left with fear. But fear is still movement. And sometimes movement is the only thing that saves us. Her first nights alone were quiet, almost too quiet. No family voices, no judgment, no footsteps pacing the hall while she questioned her own worth. Just her and her child, and a silence that felt like oxygen. She found a small apartment, bare walls. There's a moment after the storm finally passes when the silence feels unfamiliar, almost unreal. She stood there in that small apartment, sunlight touching the floor like a blessing, and realized, for the first time in a long time, there was nothing to fear. No whispers calling her less than, no eyes measuring her worth by standards she never agreed to. No partner keeping score as if love were a competition. Just peace, earned, not given. The child in her arms grew stronger each day, eyes bright with curiosity and innocence. Never once did that child wonder who the real mother was, because love is obvious to the ones who receive it. There's no confusion, no debate, just the quiet certainty of being safe in the arms that choose you daily. She learned something powerful. Parenthood is not defined by the body that carries a child. It's defined by the heart that shows up again and again with patience, gentleness, and devotion. Her husband tried for a while to regain control, but his voice no longer had space in her life. When he realized coercion would never return her, he simply faded out, like a fire that can't survive without oxygen. People whispered apologies in private messages. Family members who once judged her slowly reached out, trying to mend what they'd broken. Some she forgave, others she let go. Healing doesn't require going back to what hurt you. It just requires moving forward without dragging the past behind you. She didn't become bitter. She became selective. Her time, her energy, her love were now given only to those who treated them with care. She eventually built the life she once dreamed of. Work she loved. Friends who uplifted her, a child who grew in a home that felt like sunlight, warm, stable, real. And in quiet moments, when doubt tried to whisper its familiar poison, she reminded herself, I didn't fail. I protected. Now, let's talk about you. Why do stories like hers hit you so deeply? Maybe because you've learned the hardest truth of all: not everyone who stands beside you is standing with you. This story isn't just about her. It's about every person who has ever been shamed for circumstances beyond their control. Every person who has ever been told they aren't enough. Every person who stayed silent just to keep the peace. And every person who finally found the courage to walk away.